This is my early college football playoff predictions. This website kind of just fills in random teams throughout the seeding, so none of these teams are going to be in here. We'll go through that and then we will go through how I think the bracket will play out all in this video. The number one team I think will easily be Ohio State. I think they will beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, and then I think that'll just lock them in that top seed. I think the number two seed, I think the committee will still respect Indiana. They've played as one of the best teams the entire season, dominated in nearly every game they've played in. They have excellent wins against teams like Oregon and Iowa on the road, so I struggle to see a world where they get moved under a team like maybe a Georgia, even if they win the SEC title game. Now, here's where it gets interesting because I do not see Georgia winning the SEC title game. Alabama has their number. They cannot get past Alabama. I actually have the SEC title winner getting the 4 seed, and that is Alabama. And then I have Texas Tech as the 3 seed. Texas Tech is going against BYU in the Big 12 championship games. We saw this game earlier in the season. Texas Tech blew them out, won by 20 points. Cannot see a world where that's going to be a much different of a result in this rematch. So I very much see Texas Tech winning. They're going to be 12-1. I think they will get the 3 seed over an 11-2 Alabama. Even though their wins might be seen as better, I think they will just take the record here. So I have Bama at the 5 seed, or excuse me, at the 4 seed. At the 5 seed, this is where I'm going to put Georgia. I don't think the committee would make them fall too far for losing the SEC title game. I think they would fall just under Alabama. Unfortunately, missing out on the first round bye. It is what it is. I think they're still a very good team and can go very far in the playoffs. The 6 seed, this is where I'm going to put Oregon. I am a bit lower on Oregon than many. I don't think that a lot of their big wins have kind of aged very well. You think that back to their signature win was early in the season where they beat Penn State in Happy Valley in that whiteout game. And then Penn State kind of fell off a cliff, losing to teams like Northwestern, losing to teams like UCLA, and then they just barely squeaked out a bowl eligibility. So that's not a win that aged super well. And then I think their best win outside of that is USC, who they beat on the road. They also beat Iowa in kind of like a crazy weather storm game. There was like crazy winds and rain in that game, I believe. So yeah, I have them at the 6 seed. At 7, this is where I'm going to put Ole Miss, just missing out on the SEC title game, 11-1, fantastic season. I worry about how they're going to go moving forward with the drama around Lane Kiffin, him leaving. I wonder what kind of effect that has on the program going forward into the playoffs. I can't imagine the committee's going to hurt them for it, like drop them down in the rankings. I certainly wouldn't, so I'm going to leave them at number 7. Number 8, this is where I have Texas A&M. I don't think they should drop too far for the Texas loss. I think Texas was a very good team this year. We will talk about them when we're kind of talking about who's going to get the last two at-large bids. Texas A&M had a very good season. Marcel Reed played outstanding for most of it, was in Heisman talks, might even potentially be a finalist. I don't think he'll win the award, but he's going to be up there. He played really well. That offense played really well. They had a nice season. I don't think them losing to Texas should fault them very far, especially when they have wins against teams like Notre Dame. We're going to jump down to these bottom 2 seeds and go to kind of the other conference title contenders that are going to take these automatic bids before we go to the last at large spots. At the 12 seed, I'm taking North Texas as the group of 5 winner in the AC, or excuse me, in the American Conference. And then I'm taking Virginia out of the ACC. I don't think Duke's going to be able to beat them in the ACC championship. I'm pretty sure Virginia has already opened up as double digit favorites in that game. If Virginia loses and Duke takes that title, then you have an interesting world where this Virginia team or this Virginia spot becomes James Madison and you have two G5 spots in here. I don't think that will happen. I think it would be entertaining. I like a little chaos. I think that would be fun. Moving up, the at large bids here are between Miami, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, BYU, Utah, and Texas. Those are like the 7 teams that are kind of fighting over these last two spots. First couple of teams I'm going to get rid of are going to be Utah and Vanderbilt. Both of them had good seasons, but I'm not going to take Utah in when they lost to BYU head to head, and I'm not going to take Vanderbilt in when they lost to both Texas and Alabama head to head. I just think there are 12 teams better than both of those teams, so I'm not going to be able to throw them in. I struggle to leave out BYU. They'll be 11 and 2 with their two losses both being to Texas Tech. But I don't really like their schedule. I don't find many of their wins impressive. They had the nice win over Utah in the Holy War game, but the rest of their resume doesn't feel top 12 to me. But it's also an 11-win team that I struggle to leave out. I also want to put Texas in. I am not going to be one to fault them for going 9 and 3. I'm not going to fault them for losing to Ohio State. Their other losses to Georgia and Florida obviously look pretty bad. The Georgia loss by 25 on the road is tough. The Florida loss to what is now a 4 and 18 is pretty terrible. But they have the best resume as far as wins go in all of college football. You have three top 10 wins. You beat Texas A&M. You beat Oklahoma. You beat Vanderbilt. Those were all top 10 wins. I struggle to leave a team that has three top 10 wins out of the playoffs. But I also struggle to put a team in that lost three games. Then you talk about teams like Miami and Notre Dame. Obviously, Miami is the head-to-head. That's kind of what a lot of the talk on social media is if it's down to those two, Miami gets in because of the head-to-head. And typically, I'm all for the head-to-head going one way. This is a spot where I kind of struggle to see it. Not because I don't want to respect the head-to-head, because it is a great win for Miami. They played very well in that game, and they deserved that win. On the Notre Dame side of the football, it was on the road, opening night, CJ Carr's first career start. A 3-point loss in your freshman QB's first career start. I struggle to punish Notre Dame for that. And then Notre Dame's other loss, Texas A&M, a 1-point loss at home on a fourth and goal from I believe it was around the 15-yard line that Texas A&M got the last second touchdown. And then you also had the extra point that Notre Dame had earlier in that fourth quarter where Tyler Buckner bobbled the snap, leading to that 1-point loss. I struggle to kind of punish them for that game either, but those were really the only two top teams that Notre Dame faced. Their best wins are USC and Pitt, which are both nice wins, but there's no signature win on that slate like there is for a Miami. So for that reason, Miami is getting in one of my last at-large bids. Now my other spot I think is down to BYU, Texas, and Notre Dame. I'm taking Texas over both Oklahoma and Vanderbilt because they won both of those games head to head. They beat Oklahoma and they beat Vanderbilt. So if I have one spot left, I'm not putting in Vandy or Oklahoma over Texas. You can make the argument that record matters more than a head to head. I'm not going to listen to it because neither of those teams went out of their way to play the number one team on opening night. So I'm not going to punish Texas for that, especially when it was the closest game that Ohio State played all year. I kind of already talked about Notre Dame, how their wins are not phenomenal, but their losses are really nice. That's the first thing that Irish fans will be there to tell you, is that their losses are great. Then you have BYU, who I struggle to fault for winning 11 games, losing twice only to one team, with one of those losses being in the conference championship. I think of these three teams, I think Notre Dame is the best team based off of the eye test. The last 3 to 4 months, they've been playing the best football. But then you can argue that it's not against the best competition when they've played teams like Purdue and Arkansas and NC State, Boston College, Syracuse, Stanford, or some of their wins. They're just like, what are we doing? Like, these are not impressive wins. Texas has the best resume as far as wins go, and I think BYU has the worst. But I really struggle to leave an 11-win team out of the college football playoffs. So for that reason, BYU gets my last at-large bid. So now we come down to the bracket. This is how I have it set up. My rankings might not align with the way that the committee goes. I kind of tried to go with my opinion and how I think the committee would go. First match of the first round is North Texas going into Georgia. I think it's a phenomenal season for North Texas, but I don't think Georgia is going to let them get past. I don't think Kirby Smart is going to lose to a group of five school on home field in a playoff atmosphere. Miami against Texas A&M is a very interesting one. I think I like Texas A&M here. I think their offense is going to be too much for Miami, and then Miami's offense itself has been very spotty, and I think Texas A&M's defense is going to be able to take advantage of that. Carson Beck has been prone to interceptions the last several weeks. You look back to the games like Louisville where they lost because Carson Beck threw multiple interceptions. If that Carson Beck shows up at a playoff game, I just don't think they even have a chance. It's a road game in College Station. I struggle to see Miami coming out of this game with a win. Virginia going against Oregon. I think Virginia had a great year. Winning the ACC is no feat that should be like diminished. I think they had a great season, but I don't think they're going to be able to come out of Eugene, Oregon with a win. BYU Ole Miss, I think, will be the closest of the first round matchups. I think Ole Miss might be an emotionally distracted team with all the Lane Kiffin drama. I think if this was Texas or this was Notre Dame, that I ended up deciding to be my last at large bid that would go here, I would more than likely pick either of those teams to go into Ole Miss and come out with the win. But I don't think BYU has what it takes to go into an SEC environment in a playoff game and come out with a win. Going into the second round, we have Georgia and Alabama at a neutral site, and this is where I'm kind of going to go against the grain. To get to this scenario, I have Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC title game, which would move them to 2-0 against Georgia on the season. I cannot see Kirby Smart losing to one team three times in a season, no matter who it is. I think this could be a prime, like a 2020 Bama. This could be pull your favorite Nick Saban Alabama team. I don't think Kirby Smart is losing to that team three times in one season, and this Alabama team has shown flaws. So I have Georgia coming out of this one. Texas A&M, I'm not picking them over Ohio State. Ohio State, I think, is far and away the best team, and I'm not sure if anyone's going to be able to stop them. I think Ohio State wins this one easily, probably by 20 plus points. I think Texas A&M could maybe put up a fight early if that offense shows up, but they've just been spotty at times. They struggled against Texas. I don't think they're going to be able to beat Ohio State, who has by far the best defense in college football. Oregon and Texas Tech. This is a weird one. I'm not very high on Oregon. Kind of mentioned that briefly before. I talked about how I'm not as high on Oregon's resume. I don't think the Penn State game aged very well. They struggled to beat Iowa, relying on that last second field goal to beat them. That was a road game. It was nasty weather conditions, so it was a good win regardless. But I think they've shown some cracks in their game, whereas Texas Tech has been fairly dominant running through the Big 12. They did have the struggle with Arizona State. They did lose that game, but Arizona State was a fairly good team this year. They won, I believe, 9 games in the Big 12. It's not a bad loss. I think Texas Tech is going to come out with this one. I could very well be swayed. Texas Tech's defense has been really good in the Big 12 for the vast majority of the season, kind of just outside of the Arizona State game. I think Oregon's offense has shown hiccups at times, has been kind of inconsistent. You had games where they struggled against teams like Wisconsin and Iowa. They lost to Indiana. They struggled with some of the mid-tier teams in the Big Ten offensively, and I think they face the best defense in the Big 12 that won that conference handedly. I think they would struggle. I think Indiana would handedly beat Ole Miss. I think this would be the widest margin of the first round. You did have a nice win against BYU in the first round, but I don't think that they're going to be able to get past Kurt Signetti and the Hoosiers. Signetti looking for his first playoff win as the coach at Indiana. I think this is going to be easily won by the Hoosiers. I think the next round of games is pretty simple. I think Ohio State is just the best team in the country, and I think they would just beat Georgia. I think Georgia's team is very good. You had a really nice season out of Gunnar Stockton. There's a lot of talent on this team. There's a lot of NFL talent on this team. But Ohio State has two first round NFL wide receivers, has five first round NFL picks on defense, and has the Heisman frontrunner at QB. You're going up against an NFL team. I can't take Georgia against this Ohio State team. And then over here, Texas Tech, Indiana. Part of this is I cannot see a Big 12 team going to the national championship. It's almost more that than it is how I think Indiana would just beat them pretty easily. Because Indiana's defense has been very good this season. Their run game is explosive. Fernando Mendoza has been taking care of the football and has been efficient with the football. I think they would cruise past Texas Tech. And then the national championship. I think if there's one team that beats this Buckeyes team, it's IU. But I'm taking Ohio State against them in the Big Ten title game. Do I think Kurt Signetti and the Hoosiers can get their revenge in a national championship game? I don't. This is no fault to the Hoosiers. This is an outstanding season they had. You do not go 12 and 0 and become the number 2 seed in the national championship playoffs without being a very good team. I have them winning multiple playoff games. I think this will be a very close game, both in the Big Ten championship and the national championship. I think Indiana's run game could give Ohio State's defense some trouble. Indiana's O-line has been very good this year, but like we talked about, Ohio State has the best defense in the nation, 4 to 5 first round NFL picks in this year's draft, has multiple first round wide receivers, has a Heisman frontrunner at quarterback. I cannot see this Ohio State team walking away without the national title. Next year, maybe they fall off a little bit. They're going to lose a lot of talent, but it's Ohio State. They're just going to get it right back from the transfer portal. I don't know how anyone beats this Ohio State team. I think they win the national championship. I think they win the whole thing. I don't want to say relative ease because I think Indiana could give them a run for their money, but I think they're going to storm through the playoffs, and I think they're going to win it all. I think it would be close in the first half. I think Indiana would start off strong, have a good couple of first drives, walk away with some points, maybe even get a couple stops on defense early. I think at halftime, maybe you're looking at a score somewhere in the 16 to 10 range, 16 to 13 range. But I think in the second half, Ohio State is going to really dominate this game. I think in the second half, Ohio State's defense is going to shut everything down, and Julian Sain's going to do enough. Final score, Ohio State 36, Indiana 23. So that's going to do it for this video. This is my official early December National Championship playoff predictions. We'll revisit this when the official playoff bracket comes out, and then we can kind of compare my early bracket to what the real playoffs look like. Maybe teams like Texas or Notre Dame will find their way into the bracket. Maybe Miami and BYU get pushed out. Maybe the committee faults a team like Ole Miss for losing their coach and they drop down the ranking. I'm intrigued to see what this looks like. Maybe a team like Alabama, if they lose the SEC title game, then they fall to 10 and 3, maybe they don't make it, and then that extra spot opens up for a team like Texas or Notre Dame. So I'm very interested to see what this will look like when everything comes together. This is my initial predictions. Let me know how yours differ in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.